You have a lead sheet for the song Tenor Madness, and you want to make sure that you have one in the key of your instrument. So for instance, if you're playing a trumpet, you want to make sure it says B flat in the top left corner. If you're a rhythm section player, piano, bass, or drums, there's a specific sheet for you as well that'll say drums, bass, or piano. So does everyone have one of those? We want to make sure we lay those on you. Everyone have that? Great. So you can see that we have a topic of the day. If you look at the top, we're at the front of our worksheet here. Session number 1, topic of the day is the blues. The blues is one of the most common song forms used in jazz music. And so because it is the most common song form, we're going to talk about that today. And we're going to start by playing for you a blues. What we're going to play for you right now is a composition by jazz trumpet player Miles Davis. It appears on what is the top-selling jazz album of all time. It's every year the #1 selling record. It's the #1 downloaded record on iTunes. And it's an album entitled Kind of Blue, recorded in 1959. And it features Miles Davis on trumpet, John Coltrane on tenor saxophone, Cannonball Adderley on alto saxophone, Paul Chambers on bass. Bill Evans plays piano on all of it except for the one song we're playing, which features a great other jazz pianist named Wynton Kelly. And then one of my most favorite jazz drummers ever, Jimmy Cobb, is featured on this. So we're going to play this for you right now. And what I want you to listen for is the simple blues form. The traditional blues form is 12 measures long. Pretty basic. And all we're going to do is we're going to play what we call a head, which is the melody statement of the song. And it's going to be 12 measures long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. And when we get to 12, as in most jazz situations, the form is going to reset and go all the way back to the first measure. So you never have to do anything but count to 12 as far as how long of a phrase you need to keep track of. Like if you're going to play a solo and you're going to play multiple choruses, which is one time through the form, you're not going to want to count to 24 or 48 if you take multiple choruses. All you're going to do is count to 12, and just like an ancient writing device called a typewriter that I wrote papers on as a kid, when you get to the end of the form, just like on a typewriter, you're typing, ding. You ever hear that sound, like in a museum or something? And then you slap that thing and it goes back to the beginning. That's what the jazz form is going to do. So throughout this tune, you're going to hear us using the repetitive 12-bar form. We'll be playing the melody. You're going to hear these gentlemen up here on these wind instruments playing it. And then you're going to hear us go around the band, and we're going to hear people improvise. And we'll talk more about what improvisation is, but let's hear it first, okay? So this is the Miles Davis classic Freddie Freeloader. One, two, a 1, 2. All right, thank you so much. So could you hear the reoccurring 12-bar form? Now, every one of these gentlemen who played a solo, first of all, we heard Mr. Josh Hanlon on the piano. How about a hand for Josh Hanlon? So Josh was our first soloist, and we heard him using that same 12-bar form over and over. And did you notice how, with each one of these guys, Drew, Stuart, Carl, and Josh, that there was development and growth throughout each consecutive chorus, or 12 bars, that they improvised over. And so what they were doing, when we say the term improvise, that's very kind of scary and mysterious sounding to a lot of people. But I think that improvisation is most easily defined as instantaneous composition, because what we're doing is composing a new melody. We're composing a new melody over a topic. The topic we were composing a new melody over was Freddie Freeloader by Miles Davis. So if you go and listen to the original recording, which is one of the greatest things you can do if you're curious about any type of music, but if you go listen to Miles Davis's original recording, and you could go back and listen to what these guys just soloed on, you'll notice that every single one of them did something that alluded to the original recording, because that is where the answers lie. The keys to unlocking the future of being a jazz musician lie in the past of the recorded history of jazz music. So the more you listen to jazz music, the more you will be able to create new ideas and be more familiar with it. And that's why we're always going to talk about both a famous jazz song each week, and we're going to talk about a famous jazz musician, because the jazz musicians that made this music what it is today are amazing people, because they were not only outstanding improvisers, but they're almost always outstanding composers. So if you look at your sheet, the person that is our jazz musician of the day is a wonderful tenor saxophonist and composer named Sonny Rollins. Sonny Rollins is actually still alive and touring all over the place. I believe he's 85 years old. And I've gotten to see Sonny Rollins live twice, and I got to meet him one of those times, and I was absolutely blown away with how kind he was and how excellent everything he did was. And all night long, he played some of his original compositions that he'd been playing for nearly 50 years straight. So there's some details on your worksheet about Mr. Rollins, and you'll see that he has some notable compositions that include St. Thomas, Olio, Pent-Up House, Valse Hot, and Erigen. In addition to those is the song we'll be studying today, Tenor Madness. What we're going to do next is we're going to play one of Mr. Rollins' other famous compositions, because we'll be talking about Tenor Madness topically here in a few minutes. We're going to play his well-known composition, St. Thomas. And what we're going to do here is we are going to try to put a little bit of our own unique spin on it in the way that I have arranged it. And one of the fun things about the jazz tradition is that you do not only try to play it exactly like the originals. Sometimes in classical music, that's what we're always striving for. We're striving to play the music exactly as it was written and intended to be in its original manuscript form. But jazz music has the wonderful ability to afford freedom of expression for each player who plays that music. And that freedom of expression may be exercised improvisationally when you're performing on your primary instrument, or it can be exercised compositionally or arranging-wise. And some of these guys are such outstanding arrangers, far better than me, so I hope that they don't hate what I wrote. But we're going to play my arrangement of the Sonny Rollins classic, St. Thomas. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. All right, thank you. So that is Mr. Drew Zaremba on tenor saxophone. How about a hand for Drew over there? Drew is a graduate of the University of North Texas. He was a member of the 1 O'Clock Lab Band, got both his undergraduate's and master's degree there. And then next to him on trumpet is Mr. Stuart Mack. How about a hand for Stuart? Stuart just graduated from North Texas, I think, and he's getting ready to move to New York to attend the Manhattan School of Music in the fall. Did I get that right? Yeah. I got it. And then next to him is Carl Lundgren. How about a hand for Carl? Carl, did you do both your degrees at North Texas? Mm-hmm. So you have an undergrad and master's in arranging or trombone?
Performance.
Okay, this is an interview right now, so I'm taking notes on it. So Carl did both of his degrees at North Texas, and that's how I met Carl. He took my class at North Texas one time. He was my student. But you guys might recognize Carl because he is a founding member of the Maniacal 4 Trombone Quartet. So if you've seen that Carry On My Wayward Son thing that was floating around, I don't know, it only had like 75 million views or whatever. Kind of literally, like, right? Like millions. He's so trombone famous, it's not even funny. If only that really counted. But he's a great writer and arranger in his own. I briefly introduced Josh Hanlon over here. Josh is also graduate of the University of North Texas. He also taught at, he graduated from St. Francis Xavier in his hometown of Antigonish, Nova Scotia. He's a foreigner. He's Canadian. But he also taught at that same university, and for many years, in addition to his outstanding career as a jazz pianist, he was the pianist for the amazing country legend Ray Price, who passed away a few years ago. Josh was his touring pianist for many years, so we're so glad to have him. And last but not least, back here, the foundation of everything we're doing on the bass is Mr. James Driscoll. How about a hand for James? Yay. Surprise, there you go, good. Surprise, surprise, James also went to North Texas. That's how we know each other. And James, in addition to being probably the busiest bass player you're ever going to meet, is a great writer and composer and engineer himself. He does a lot of compositions for what we call library music, which is he's writing and making music that is used as background music for both television and radio commercials all the time. So he has a multifaceted career in the music business. Okay, so moving on, we're going to play one more quick tune for you. And the reason we're going to do so is, in addition to me stating how you can always express yourself creatively through improvising over jazz standards, you can also express yourself by arranging your own unique version of a jazz standard. The other really fun thing about jazz music, and any type of music for that matter, is creating your own music. Who here has ever tried to write your own piece of music? Have you ever tried? Awesome! More importantly, have you ever finished it? That's the hard part. Yeah, a little bit. No hands went up. So the most important thing I could say to you if you have any desire to write music is you have to dare to suck. You have to write it, you have to play it, and then you'll start learning about it. So we're going to play original composition of mine right now. This is a tune I wrote really late one night, and there's a weird story to it, so I'm not going to tell you. But it's entitled Late Night Scoop. And the thing I'd like to draw your attention to is it is based off our form of the day. It is loosely a blues, but I've done a lot of different things to it. So it's not 12 bars long in its form. I've done different elongations and shortening of the form from time to time. You're also going to want to listen for some unique activity going on between the drums, bass, and piano, where I specified bass lines that I wanted to be played to create rhythmic tension underneath what you'll hear the soloists doing, okay? So this is an original composition. This is entitled Late Night Scoop. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, thank you so much. So we have played a little bit for you now, and what we'd like to do is start talking about what you guys are going to play today. So everyone have their worksheets. Let's look at our song of the day. We'll see on the back we have a lead sheet for Tenor Madness. Yes, sir? You need a worksheet? Okay. Could we get a drum worksheet? I'll tell you what, I have one right here. I think. We'll get you one right here. Okay, so this is in jazz what we call a lead sheet. You'll notice we're all looking at music up here. You notice we don't have everything memorized, right? So this is a very typical example of what you'll see when you sit down to play jazz with other people. We'll see it's comprised of a couple fundamental things. We see melody notes. We see chord symbols above there. That tells us what sound is happening harmonically underneath the melody notes. And if you look down at the 4th, 5th, and 6th systems at the solo section, we see what we call slash notation, where there's just 4 slashes per measure, representing how many beats are in the measure. And then there's a chord symbol. Well, if you look, the chord symbol that is over the first measure of the solo section is the exact same chord symbol that's over the first measure of what we call the head, the melody. That's because the solo section is where you are creating your own unique melody. You're improvising. But you're doing so over the exact same song form that you will have played in the head. So far, so good? So what we're going to do first is play that for you. And I'd also really quickly, before we do so, like to draw your attention to the last 2 measures. It looks like measure 12 and 13 of the head. We'll see that we have big notes and small notes there. Does everyone see that? Those of you rhythm section people, you're looking at a different part. Those of you who are playing a wind instrument. The big notes represent the actual melody. The small notes are harmony notes that I wrote in. And I'll show you what to do with those in a moment. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to play one time through the melody of Tenor Madness. And just take note there's a pickup note on the and of 4. Does everyone see that? So when you hear me count the guys off, you'll hear me go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Bap, bap, boot up. So then that's where they're going to come in. And jazz loves the and of 4. Jazz loves to start on and end on the and of 4. Okay? So what we're going to do right now is play one time through the melody. You rhythm section folks, on the back of your page, if you're a bass player, you're looking at a bass line very similar to what James will be playing. If you are a pianist, you are looking at a comping pattern that is very similar to what Josh will be playing. And if you're a drummer, you're looking at comping on the drum set very similar to what I'll be playing. So you should be looking at something that you're hearing up here. Okay? So here's one time through the melody of Tenor Madness. All right, you guys just play the melody only.
Yeah.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, a 3. So that's one time through. Everyone get that? Everyone able to follow along? Pretty simple, right? And we heard the harmony notes at the end. The reason the harmony notes are there is that when you go home, if you want to play this tune with some of your friends, it doesn't matter what the horn composition is you have. You could have 3 trombones, which would be absurd, right, Carl?
Absurd.
But
You need one more.
you need one more, right? Always 4. They come in 4s. It's like bad news. It comes in 4s.
Yeah.
Is that how that goes? So you can go home and you can take turns playing different harmony parts so that you can continue to work on your reading as well. So what we're going to do next is demonstrate what happens more clearly when we're improvising. We are going to play the head. We're going to play the melody together. And then, starting with Drew, we're going to go down the line of horn players, and they are each going to improvise one chorus, which means one time through the form. But here's what we're going to do that typically you don't do in jazz, but we're going to do today for learning purposes. While Drew is soloing, Carl and Stuart are going to softly play the melody underneath him so that you can hear the direct correlation to Drew creating a new melody over the topic that's going through his mind, the chord changes and the pre-existing melody of Tenor Madness. And we're going to do the same thing when it gets to Stuart's turn to play a chorus. Drew and Carl are going to play the melody softly underneath, and we'll do it one more time for Carl. And then at the end of that, as we always do in jazz, we like to bookend the song by playing the melody first improvising, and we always finish by playing the melody again to end. And that's what we're going to do right now. So if we count together, it's a grand total of 5 choruses. We'll play one time through the whole form to play the head. Then we'll play the second time for Drew's soloing, the third time for Stuart's soloing, the fourth time for Carl's soloing, and then the 5th chorus will be the head out. We'll often call it the head out. Sometimes you'll see jazz musicians look at each other and point to their head. Whenever they do that, that means we're going to play the head out. Okay? So if you ever see that, they don't have a headache. Although Josh had a migraine last night. Do you have a headache right now? So if Josh points to his head, it represents a far different issue. Okay? So we're going to play how many choruses total? Oh, man. How many choruses total? 5. Head, solo, 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 head. Here we go at the top. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, a 3. So you notice that when we do that, it seems a bit chaotic, doesn't it? Because there's all of the original melody happening, and then there's a new melody happening on top. So that makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it, as to why we don't do that underneath. But did you hear the relationship to the pre-existing melody and to each of these gentlemen's improvisations on top of that? Did that make sense? I mean, the reason we don't constantly play the melody underneath is the same reason why if you're having a conversation with someone, you don't always repeat the subject matter. If I'm talking to Carl and saying, Carl, did you watch the NBA Finals last night?
No, I didn't.
When I was watching the NBA Finals last night, LeBron James was playing.
During the NBA Finals last night.
Yes, during the NBA Finals. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It's just, we know what we're talking about, don't we? When we establish the melody at the beginning of the song, when we play the head, we have established the topic with which we'll be working with the whole time. And you'll hear both myself at the drums, James and Josh back there at the bass and piano. We're referencing that material also the whole time. We're just not playing all of it. We're what I call rhythmically looking at the skeletal rhythmic outline of it. There's certain notes that just jump out. You notice that? Ba ba da, beep ba ba da, beep ba ba do ba dee ba da ba do da. There's a really strong one right there. Ba do ba dee ba dee ba dee da. They just jump out of the context, don't they? So those are things that you'll hear us gravitating towards using when we're accompanying these soloists. So we're going to do this one more time, and we're going to get you guys involved. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the exact same exercise. We're going to play the head once, but I would like you guys to sing with us. If we cannot sing something, I'm not saying it has to be good, like me, 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 but we just want to vocalize and articulate the song so that we know we internally understand it. I would like all of you to sing along with us as we play the melody. And then as each one of these guys improvise a chorus, I would like you to repeat the melody as they are soloing. And I'll try to do it while I play. Is that cool? It doesn't have to be loud or anything. I just want to engage your mind with tracking the form, the 12-bar form, by tracking the melody. Okay? So far, so good? Shall we try it? Because that's what you're going to go work on in sectionals in a moment. Learning the melody, learning to track the melody while you create your own unique melody, which is improvisation. Okay? So here we are one more time. Let's hear those warm-up voices. Me, me, me. Ready? And... That's exactly what I expected. Great, great. Okay, everybody ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so were you able to follow along? I heard lots of good singing, or at least good miming. What's the word that they say if you don't know the words to a song? If you just repeat the word watermelon over and over, people will think you know what the words are. Melon, water. It works, yeah. Do it in Canadian. He's Canadian too, so I like picking on it.
I don't know.
I think it would have an A in there. Watermelon A.
Watermelon.
Canadians are such nice people that it's fun picking on them because they're so kind. Very good. Okay, so here is our goal. We're going to break out now into sectionals. So we're going to go by instruments. So if you're a trumpet player or French horn player, you're going to go with Stuart, and we'll identify it's going to be one of these 3 rooms right back here. If you're a saxophonist, you're going to go with Drew. If you're a trombonist, first of all, we'll pray for you, and second of all, you'll go with Carl. And if you're a rhythm section player, you're going to hang out in here. We're going to spend about 20 minutes working on these concepts specifically to your instrument. And when all is said and done, we're going to come back in here and we're going to play all that together. And we want some brave souls to volunteer to improvise as well. Sound like a plan? Any questions? Okay, so we'll be telling you as you go to this hallway right here which room to head towards. And let's take like 2 minutes to do so. Okay? Thanks, guys. We'll see you in a second. Okay, guys, so we're just waiting for Stuart and Carl. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this tune together. Yeah? Who feels confident trying? Who wants a solo? All right, one. If you want a solo, come up. We're all going to play together, but if you want a solo, come up. So please come up here. Please. Just one brave soloist. Will solo. Come up here, Will. Come on, Will. Will, you're brave. No one else wants to try? Well, maybe you'll change your mind, okay? So what we're going to do is we'll get Carl and Drew and Stuart to come play with you guys. So how's everyone feeling about the tune? You get a chance to kind of work on that melody a little bit? So let's play it together first. What we're going to do is we're all going to play one time through the melody. Got some people back here on the rhythm section too. So even if you're sitting there or up here, let's everyone play together, okay? Ready at the very beginning? I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right? Ready? All right, here we go. One time through. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Beautiful. So here's what we're going to do so we can all continue to participate in the jazz experience here. We're going to play the head once together, just like we did, and then let's just, I'll point at someone and we'll let them solo. And so what we'll do is everyone will play, for now, 2 choruses. Now, let's play 3. 3 choruses each. And on the 3rd chorus, and I'll help cue you, on the 3rd chorus, we're all going to softly play the melody underneath it as a background, just so we can remind ourselves where we're at in the tune, okay? So how many choruses is everyone going to play when they solo? 3. And we're going to play backgrounds, which is the melody, on which part? Okay, good. And so if we're playing like trombone, French horn, we'll play the upper harmony notes. Saxophones, we'll play the middle harmony notes there at the end. And bari trombone, we'll play the bottom. Is that cool? So we'll play the head once. We'll go around, and at some point, I'll give you the head cue, right? I'll point to my head, and we'll play the head out. Sound like a plan? So if we're going through it, and if anyone here feels the Spirit move them to improvise, just let me know, and we'll let you solo too, okay? We'll let Drew go first.
Okay.
Because he looks scared. No, I'm just kidding. Drew, it's okay. It's going to be okay, Drew. Okay? Everybody got our plan, shall we? Here's the beginning. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Don't drag, don't drag. Here's Drew. So here is our second time. Ready for our backgrounds? 1, 2, 1, 2. Good job, Drew. Good job, Drew. You did it. You did it. So here is our second, right? Backgrounds, backgrounds, 2, 1, 2. Good, very nice, Will. So for our backgrounds for him, we're gonna change the melody. We're just gonna go beep, ba, da, and just do that much. Okay? So I'll sing to you what we'll play. Here's the second chorus. So we'll go beep, ba, da, and just play that much. And then we'll do it again. Ba, ba, da. So we're just playing the first phrase, and then we'll play the whole ending. Beep, boop, ba, da, ba, doo, dee, doo, da. Okay? A 1 and soft. A 1, 2, 3. Just that much. They weren't listening, were they? Here's the next one. Ba, ba, ba. And now you'll play the whole phrase. So you can make backgrounds up just using fragments of the melody. So we'll try that again. He's in 2. play the notes that are written though on the next part. Beep, bop, boot up. And then we'll shorten the last one. We'll go beep, bop, ba dee ba doo, ba dee ba doo da. Okay? 1, 2, a 1, 2, a 3. Good. Very good. You got it, Carl. Are we gonna do our same backgrounds? The short ones? Yeah? 3, 2, make sure we're soft. We'll let you play next. Beep, ba, ba, da, ba, doo, ba, da, ya, doo. I want you to drop out. Ready? Drop out. Ready, Herschel? A 1, a 2, a 1, 2. Backgrounds? Right. A 1, 2, 3. Beep, bop, ba, ba, doo, ba, doo. So you're just going to play the first 2 notes. Beep, bop. You're just going to do that much. Soft. Ready? 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3. Isn't that cute? Ready to do it again? A 1, 2, and 3. Great. And you're just going to play 2 notes here too. Good. So we saw a couple things that you can do when you're playing this stuff on your own with your friends at home or home at school. Is you can create your own little arrangement by just taking pieces of the things that we already have to work with, pieces of the tune itself. The wonderful thing about jazz melodies is that hopefully, and usually, they fit the harmonic progression. They tell you some really useful harmonic knowledge by just playing portions of it like we did. And you can have fun with your friends doing that, and you can make your own backgrounds up as well. And then you can always change the way you orchestrate the song. Did you notice how when Stuart played, what happened? What did we do during the beginning of Stuart's trumpet solo? Drums dropped out, right. Did he pass out? No, okay, good. Whew. Just making sure. You're okay? Okay. No, he just laid out. And it's something we can do in jazz music that's a lot of fun, is change the instrumentation by leaving something out or adding something in. Just because we have bass, drums, and piano doesn't mean they have to always play. You probably noticed at times that Josh would play more or less on the piano, depending on what he heard going on. Does that make sense? Now, one of the other things we can do, James, will you hop up with me really quick? One of the things you can do too is, once you're feeling really comfortable, thank you, sir, you're feeling really comfortable with a jazz tune like this, you can start messing around with it and having fun. You could play it as a different style. It's the same tune. It's the same everything. We're just changing the fundamental style. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play it like a bossa nova, which is a Brazilian Latin style that was popularized in our country in the 60s. So to set it up, Josh, James, and I, we're going to play one time through, and we're going to hear these guys interpret it as a bossa nova. They're going to play the exact same notes, but they're going to change a couple characteristics of it. And I'll ask you questions about that in a sec, okay? So here's a chorus setting it up. A 1, a 2. So you see how you can adapt different styles to these tunes. I mean, it doesn't just have to be what we would consider a jazz style. I think we think of bossa nova and some of those Latin styles as a jazz style. It can be any contemporary style. That was one of the reasons we played that original composition of mine. I wanted you to hear something that's a little more modern. I mean, we could play this like James Brownish. We'll set it up with a chorus. 2, 1, 2. can be adaptable to any style of music you want it to be once you understand the fundamental premise of the form, the basic harmony, and you can have fun messing with the melody. And I think by just experimenting with that, you could play the same tune every day of your life and have a different musical experience with it if you're open-minded enough, both in the way you practice it and in the things you listen to. So if you ever hear a piece of music that maybe you don't know what it is, but you like something about it, the first thing you should do is try to play something that sounds like that. And if it doesn't sound perfect the first time you play it, don't worry. Nothing ever does sound perfect the first time we play it. The great thing about music is it's like the video game you can't ever beat. You can't beat it. That's the best thing about it. I love video games. I just always beat them too fast. They're too expensive. Beat it in like a day. Cost me $70. You know what I mean? I don't like that. So I still can't, I've been practicing my drums and listening to and studying jazz music for a long, long time. And it's just as fascinating as it's ever been.
Super Mario Brothers took me the whole summer of '86.
The summer of '86?
Yeah.
The first Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah.
Man, I bet you were wearing like a Journey t-shirt while you did it too.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Yeah, I could see a young video gaming James Driscoll.
Yep.
You still play Mario Brothers a lot, don't you?
No, I haven't played it since.
Do you still have like the red button indentation on your finger?
Yeah, right.
We used to press those little buttons so hard. You guys don't know how good you have it with ergonomically correct video game controllers. Like that first Nintendo thing, it was like a medieval torture device. It would dig into your palms. It was terrible. Well, we are pretty much out of time for today unless anyone has any last questions, either for myself or any of these gentlemen up here. And we'll be hanging out here for the next few minutes, so if you're too shy to ask it publicly, please come up and ask us questions. We're happy to answer them. Anything? You guys learn one thing today? Oh, good. Victory. Victory. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope we'll see you again, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Thank you. Hey, man, great job. Very good. I heard a big improvement today. Here's your sticks back. So you know what I mean about like kind of the difference between those beads. Pretty huge, right? And you'll hear it like